Hello all. In the previous modules, we have discussed about the principles of solvent extraction, how to perform solvent extraction for an individual solute, and how the extraction efficiency and the selectivity as two important parameters for extracting any solute are to be calculated. We have understood in the previous two modules. In this module, we have to understand about the extraction systems. Extraction systems means, suppose if you are going to use any liquid extraction procedure, what are the types of the molecules, what are the types of the solutes we can extract, and how do we initiate the extraction process? So what kind of sample systems can be subjected to extraction? Suppose analyte may be present in the ionic state, complex state, precipitated state, etc. Whether it is possible to subject all those variety of the species for the extraction process, that is very important. So whatever the extraction you do, any solute system should possess some fundamental requirements. They have to fulfill some fundamental requirements. What are those fundamental requirements? Any solute which you wanted to extract, that must not be charged. It must not be neither negatively or positively charged. It should be neutral with respect to its charge. Even if the solute is charged, if that charged solute, if reacted with something reagent, some reactant, it must be able to form an electrical neutral species in the form of uncharged ionic aggregate. This uncharged ionic aggregate means if a positively charged species treated with a reagent which is in the negatively charged state, then the uncharged ionic aggregate must be able to form. And this neutralizes the charge on either the analyte or on the reactant. Therefore, the extraction process can be initiated very simply. What is the use of the charge neutrality? So the aim is in order to reduce the electrostatic interactions between the solute and water. If the solute is charged, it may be either positively or negatively charged, the electrostatic interaction between the solute and the water will be more. So therefore, as a need for reduction of this electrostatic charge, electrostatic interactions between water and the solute, the charge neutrality must be done. So as a result of the charge neutrality, the aqueous solubility of the solute will be reduced, and thereby the solubility of the solute in the organic phase will be increased. Therefore, the selectivity of the extraction can also be enhanced. Therefore, charge neutrality is very, very important. And even the extraction into a less polar organic solvent is highly facilitated by making the solute sufficiently unhydrated. If the aqueous solubility is reduced for a solute, the hydration ability for that particular solvent with respect to the solute can be reduced. If the species is not hydrated, the extraction of any kind of the solute into a less polar organic solvent will become high. The extraction efficiency will become high. Therefore, we have to reduce the chances of hydration of the solute. And even the extraction is also facilitated if the coordinated water is displaced by hydrophobic coordinating groups. Hydrophobic coordinated bulky organic molecules, if they are replaced in place of water, then the hydrophilicity of the solute is going to be declined and hydrophobicity of the solute will be enhanced. As a result, the extraction efficiency for this solute into a less polar organic solvent can be increased. Therefore, these are the important requirements we have to understood whenever we consider any solute for the extraction process successfully. The first thing is the species to be uncharged. Even if it is charged, the species must be treated with a reagent in such a way that an ionic uncharged aggregate should be obtained. So once the charge neutrality is done, the electrostatic interactions between the solute and water will be reduced. Therefore, the hydrophobicity will be enhanced, and hence the extraction into organic solvent can be increased. And that is because of the less hydration power of the solute. Or even the replacement of the bulky organic molecules in place of water will also increase the hydrophobicity for the solute. So as a result, the extraction efficiency for the extraction of any individual solute will become more, because of the fulfillment of these requirements by the solute. Okay, so we can classify the chemical solutes or the molecules into three important groups which obeys all these requirements. So they are first essentially covalent or neutral molecules. These are the group of molecules. They may be formed by monoatomic elements or monoatomic molecules. They may be monoatomic molecules or diatomic molecules or triatomic molecules or polyatomic molecules, whatever it is. So iodine, you consider iodine, I2. Iodine is bonded to two iodine elements, two iodine atoms bonded together covalently to form iodine molecule. So we can extract this iodine as essentially covalent neutral molecule into the organic solvent, provided this iodine is going to fulfill all the requirements, what I have stated in my previous slide. Even germanium tetrachloride is also essentially covalent neutral molecule. This molecule has formed between germanium and chlorine. So this is a diatomic molecule, and this can also be extracted into a suitable organic solvent. Even the benzoic acid is a molecule which is having oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. It is a triatomic molecule. So these are the specimen examples. Why I am presenting these examples? Because to understand what are essentially covalent neutral molecules. So when you take such species for the extraction process, they will be easily extracted into the organic solvent, provided they are not charged. The charge neutrality has been initiated and attained, and as a result, the electrostatic attraction between these molecules and the water will be reduced, will be decreased, and the bulky organic molecules are replaced in place of water molecules, so that the hydrophobicity of the molecule will be increased, and simply these molecules can be extracted into the organic solvent. If you look at the structure of these three molecules, they are chargeless. They are neither positively nor negatively charged. Therefore, electrical neutrality is attained. That is an important requirement. Electrical neutrality is an important requirement. So this electrically neutral species can be easily extracted into the organic solvent. So therefore, this is one of the requirement. And these type of molecules will be one of three category of the group of molecules which can be subjected for the extraction process. And the second group of molecules are uncharged metal chelates. As the name is implying here, metal chelates. Chelates are going to be formed due to the reaction between metal ions and the chelating agents. Metals will be Lewis acids, and chelating agents will be acting as Lewis bases. So simple Lewis acid-base reaction takes place to form metal chelates. And metal chelates are nothing but they are the group of complexes which are having ring-like structure, and the central atom will be a metal. Central atom will be a metal. So such metal chelates, if they are uncharged, we can subject them for liquid-liquid extraction. That is, we can extract any metal chelates which are uncharged into a suitable organic solvent. I have presented here some specimen examples. Some chelating agents which are commonly used to extract the metal ions are acetylacetone, 8-hydroxyquinoline, dithiazone, etc. So this is going to be the acetylacetone, CS3CO, CS2, CO, CS3, and 8-hydroxyquinoline is this one, and this is dithiazone. So dithiazone is also called as diphenyl thiocarbazone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1,5 diphenyl thiocarbazone, because sulfur is present here. That's what this is called as diphenyl thiocarbazone. Here, oxygens of acetylacetone, nitrogen and oxygen of 8-hydroxyquinoline, sulfur and nitrogen of dithiazone are the groups which will donate a pair of electrons to any metal ions when they are coming to the interface in the solution where these reagents are present. So as a result of rapid complexation reaction, the chelates are going to be formed. Say for example, iron if you take, or zinc you take. Here, iron has been reacted with acetylacetone, and acetylacetone iron complex has been obtained, and this is in the form of a chelate. And this is a metal chelate of iron and acetylacetone. And similarly, you consider 8-hydroxyquinoline. 8-hydroxyquinoline will be forming a chelate with zinc 2. Divalent zinc ion will be forming the complex with 8-hydroxyquinoline. Similarly, you take dithiazone, any metal such as lead, zinc, bismuth, thallium, etc. They have the ability to form complex with dithiazone. Dithiazone is a suitable reagent for determination of lead and even for determination of nickel. So dithiazone and any metal reacts together, they will produce a chelates, and these metal chelates are colored in nature, and these colored chelates can be extracted very simply into the organic solvent. So if you look at the structure of these three molecules I have written here, iron acetylacetone complex, metal dithiazone complex, and zinc 8-hydroxyquinoline complex, these complexes are not charged. They are uncharged. Neither positive nor negative charges are present on these complexes. Therefore, they can be easily extracted into any suitable organic solvent. These type of molecules are called as uncharged metal chelates. These are the second group of molecules which fulfill all those requirements. That is, they are uncharged and their aqueous solubility is reduced because of hydrophobic interaction with the organic solvent will be increased as a result of declining of the hydration, declining of hydrophilic property, and even bulky organic molecules are replaced in place of water. Therefore, their aqueous solubility will be reduced and their solubility in the organic solvent will be increased. And third group of molecules are ion association complexes. Ion association complexes. Ion association complexes are the group of molecules. They are formed due to the reaction between positively and negatively charged species. Say, for example, here you consider 1:3 complex of iron 2 and 1,10-phenanthroline is red in color. You are very familiar about this complex. Ferrine indicator you might have used in many experiments. Ferrine is the trivial name. Its IUPAC name is, it is a 1:3 complex of iron 2 and 1,10-phenanthroline. So 110 iron 2 and 1,10-phenanthroline complex is divalent in nature. It is positively charged. The residual charge on this particular complex will be 2+. So the aqueous solubility of this complex is more. So we cannot extract this ferrine into organic solvent. Provided if we are aiming to determine iron, we can convert iron into ferrine by treating with a suitable quantity of 1,10-phenanthroline or orthophenanthroline. So we will get ferrine indicator or we will get a ferrine complex. Ferrine complex is divalent in nature. It is cationic. So we have to neutralize this positive charge. We have to neutralize this 2+ charge on ferrine. How to do this? Very simple. You take perchlorate ion or perchloric acid. You treat ferrine with perchloric acid. Ferrine perchlorate will be the metal chelate you're going to obtain. So here the contribution of ferrine 2+ charge, which is having 2+ charge, and perchlorate anion, they react together to form an ionic aggregate. These two are ionic aggregates. Positively charged and negatively charged species will be reacting together to form an ionic aggregate, and this ionic aggregate will be electrically neutral. And this electrical neutrality will decrease the aqueous solubility of this particular complex. So therefore, they can be extracted into the organic solvent. These type of complexes are known as ion association complexes. Ion association complexes are the electrically neutral species which will be formed due to the reaction between positively and negatively charged species, and they are going to be in ionic aggregate state. And even you can take the example of what I have presented here. Tris benzyl ammonium gallium tetrachloride. Tris benzyl ammonium gallium tetrachloride. This is also an ion association complex. Here, tris benzyl ammonium ion is positively charged species and tetrachlorogallium 3 is negatively charged species. So there is only one positive charge on nitrogen and there is only one negative charge on this gallium tetrachlorogallium 3+. So therefore, this plus charge has been neutralized by this minus charge, and electrostatically neutral species has been obtained, and this complex is called as ion association complex. And similarly here, ferrine, this is the ferrine structure. 1:3 iron 2 110 phenanthroline complex is taken, and it is treated with perchlorate anion. And one perchlorate anion will carry one negative charge, two perchlorate anion will contribute two negative charge. The residual charge on this complex is +2. So +2, 2 minus. Electrical neutrality of the charges will be done. Therefore, this complex is known as ion association complex. So once the species are converted into this particular state, their aqueous solubility will be reduced and their solubility in the organic phase can be increased. Such species can be easily extracted into non-polar organic solvents. Okay, first let me consider one by one. So what are the three molecular systems which will fulfill all those requirements? They are essentially covalent neutral molecules, uncharged metal chelates, and ion association complexes. So first let us discuss about extraction of covalent neutral molecules. What are the experimental conditions we must aware in extracting these essentially covalent neutral molecules? As a fundamental understanding, we know that each and every solute will be extracted with the better efficiency in the absence of competing experimental conditions. So competing experimental conditions means analytes should not be influenced for polymerization or for complexation or association, or it should not be affected with respect to its acidity or basicity, etc. So if the solute is maintained in its original state in the aqueous solution, and that is because of analyte has not undergone for any transformation before we subject extraction procedure. Therefore, the extraction efficiency is solely dependent upon the solute state, provided the solute is not undergoing to any competing experimental conditions. So percent extraction is having direct relationship with the distribution ratio, that is D. So for any solute, the distribution ratio is the deciding factor, and hence we can calculate the percent efficiency of the extraction. So distribution ratio for the extraction of covalent neutral molecules, essentially covalent neutral molecules, are dependent on pH, and the D value or the distribution ratio may also be getting altered in the presence of complexing agents, and it may also be affected by the association which will take place in the organic or aqueous phase. So these are the three factors: pH, dependency for a solute with respect to its D value when it is extracted into organic solvent, and in the presence of complexing agent, the D value may be varied, and even because of the association of the solute. Association means even two molecules of the same solute may associate together to form a different kind of product, and that the product may influence the variation in the D value. So let us discuss one by one. First, let me take pH effect on the distribution ratio. So let me consider a carboxylic acid. So carboxylic acid, whatever the carboxylic acid you consider, it may be monocarboxylic acid or dicarboxylic acid or tricarboxylic acid. And if we are intended to extract this carboxylic acid from water into ether, we can write from the Nernst partition law that the equilibrium distribution of this carboxylic acid will go according to this equation, that is Kd, partition coefficient is equal to concentration of the carboxylic acid in the organic layer. Here Et represents the ether. Ether is going to be the solvent which will be commonly used for the extraction of any carboxylic acid, and concentration of the carboxylic acid in the aqueous layer. So partition coefficient will be simply the ratio of concentration of the carboxylic acid in the organic to concentration of the carboxylic acid in the aqueous layer. Okay, when you take this carboxylic acid in water, the inevitable process will be the dissociation of the carboxylic acid. So carboxylic acid undergo dissociation to get converted into carboxylate anion and counter positively charged hydronium ion or hydrogen ion. So carboxylic acid, when it is dissolved in water, it may be strong acid or weak acid. Strong, it is not strong enough, It may not be too weak acid. It is a weak acid. All carboxylic acids are weakly acidic in nature, but they tend to undergo dissociation to certain extent. So RCOOH plus H2O gives rise to RCO minus plus H3O plus. This is simply the dissociation reaction for any carboxylic acid. Say, for example, benzoic acid you take, acetic acid you take, citric acid you take, acetic acid plus water, you will get acetate anion and hydronium ion. Therefore, according to law of mass action, if you write the equilibrium constant expression for this reaction, the equilibrium constant for this dissociation reaction is dissociation constant. So this dissociation constant K is equal to concentration of the carboxylate anion in the aqueous layer into concentration of hydronium ion in the aqueous layer divided by concentration of carboxylic acid in the aqueous layer. Let it be equation 2, right? We know the distribution ratio, definition for distribution ratio. Distribution ratio is simply the ratio of the total concentration of the analyte in the organic layer divided by the total concentration of the analyte in the aqueous layer. Assume in the organic layer, carboxylic acid do not tend to undergo any transformation, so it will be present in its original state. So it will be extracted in the original form. So not in either ionized form or not in any other form. So RCOOH in the organic layer or in the ether layer will be present intact. So D is equal to concentration of the carboxylic acid in the ether divided by concentration of carboxylic acid in the aqueous phase plus concentration of carboxylate anion in the aqueous phase. So concentration of carboxylic acid in the aqueous layer can be calculated by using what is the concentration of undissociated carboxylic acid and the concentration of dissociated carboxylic acid. Some amount of carboxylic acid, if it has undergone dissociation, and it will ultimately produce RCO minus. So its concentration is RCO minus concentration in the aqueous phase. So D is equal to concentration of the carboxylic acid in the organic phase, that is ether, divided by concentration of the carboxylic acid in the aqueous layer plus concentration of carboxylate anion in the aqueous layer. Okay, from the second equation, we can simplify that. Concentration of RCO minus in the aqueous layer will be simply Ka into concentration of RCOOH in the aqueous layer divided by hydronium ion concentration in the aqueous layer. So you just substitute this equation in the expression of D. So we will get D is equal to concentration of RCOOH in the organic layer, that will be remaining same, and concentration of RCOOH in the aqueous layer will also be remaining same, plus concentration of RCO minus can be replaced by this value. So that is K into concentration of RCOH in the aqueous layer divided by concentration of H3O plus in the aqueous layer. You further simplify this equation, D is equal to RCOH concentration in the ether divided by, let you take this concentration of RCOH in the aqueous layer as a common factor. So this has been taken as a common factor. So you will get 1 plus, so RCOH aqueous concentration common factor has been taken. So into 1 plus Ka divided by H3O plus concentration in the aqueous layer. So this and this are same. The thing is, here RCOOH concentration in the aqueous layer has been taken as a common factor. So we know concentration of RCOOH in the organic layer to concentration of RCOOH in the aqueous layer as Kd, the partition coefficient here in this expression. In this expression, Kd is equal to concentration of carboxylic acid in the ether divided by concentration of carboxylic acid in the aqueous phase. So that has been substituted here. So D is equal to Kd divided by 1 plus Ka divided by H3O plus concentration. This equation is very important. So according to this equation, that is equation number 5, if you look at this particular equation, any carboxylic acid, if you are going to extract into the organic solvent, what are the factors which influence the extraction efficiency? What are the factors which decides D, or how the D is going to dependent upon the concentration of H plus ion? So if you assume the pH is low for the aqueous solution in which the carboxylic acid has been dissolved, At low pH, that is at higher concentration of H plus ion, if you assume the concentration of H plus ion is very high, the value of D will be approaching Kd. At very high concentration of H plus ion, what is the reason? The carboxylic acid do not undergo ionization. At very high concentration of H plus ion, at very low pH, the dissociation of the carboxylic acid, it may be benzoic acid or acetic acid or citric acid or tartaric acid, whatever it may be, it do not undergo ionization. So its originality will be maintained. Therefore, since the concentration of H plus ion is more, this will become 0. Assume this will become 0. So 1 plus 0, you will get 1. So D will be equal to Kd, exactly Kd. So the extraction efficiency for the carboxylic acid is very high when you use higher concentration of acid in the aqueous layer. Therefore, pH is a deciding factor. At very high pH, that is at higher concentration of hydroxyl ions, the concentration of H plus ions will be low, and this will become maximum. This will become maximum. So D approaches 0. As this will become maximum, D approaches 0. Anything divided by infinity, this whole term will become maximum, means if you assume this is going to be infinity, anything divided by infinity, you will get 0. So D value will become 0 at high pH values. So if you maintain at higher pH in the aqueous solution, the distribution ratio will be 0, will be approaching to 0, and the extraction efficiency will be very, very minimum. So you take any carboxylic acid it may be, its extraction efficiency is solely dependent upon the pH. So that is expressed by giving the relationship between D and the pH. So D value will become almost equal to Kd if you perform the extraction of that particular carboxylic acid by maintaining high hydrogen ion concentration. That is because to maintain a carboxylic acid in the unionized state, if you use higher concentration of hydroxyl ions or higher pH, if you maintain for the aqueous layer, D value will be approaching to 0 and the extraction efficiency will become negligible. So this has been explained by means of this particular curve by taking the example extraction of benzoic acid. Benzoic acid has a dissociation constant of 6.3 into 10 power minus 5. So what is the optimum pH range for extraction of benzoic acid without affecting the value of D? So series of experiments have been performed for the extraction of benzoic acid by maintaining different pH for the aqueous solution while extracting benzoic acid. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 were the pH maintained for the extraction of benzoic acid. If you look at this graph, nearly up to pH 3.5 to 4, the extraction of benzoic acid will be maintaining greatest efficiency, more efficiency. So at around pH 4, log 10 to the log Kd to the base 10 will be exactly equal to log D to the base 10. Means Kd value will be approaching to D, provided the pH range has been maintained up to nearly 4. So if you increase the pH beyond 4, the extraction efficiency for benzoic acid will be declined. Therefore, you must be very familiar about the factor in order to extract any carboxylic acids into the organic phase. pH is the deciding factor. And even amines can also be extracted. For amines, the maximum pH you can maintain, but the acidic pH you cannot maintain. This curve will be a simply mirror image for amines. But these values will be reversed because amines are bases. Bases are unionized when higher pH values are maintained. So if you maintain pH in between 7 to 10, amines can be extracted with greater efficiencies. So therefore, the same trend holds good even for the extraction of amines or extraction of bases. So pH is an important factor which decides the value of D and hence the extraction efficiency for the extraction of any carboxylic acids, not only carboxylic acids, but also amines. So this is about the effect of pH on D and extraction efficiency. Next one is the effect of complex formation. Complex formation means if you assume you are taking a solute and you are going to extract that into the organic phase. If the solute is having the ability to form complex with a reagent or a solvent or something else present in the aqueous solution, then how does it influence the value of D? How does it influence the extraction efficiency? This is very important to understand. Okay. Let me consider an example here. The extraction of iodine. Iodine molecule can be extracted into carbon tetrachloride. And you have understood about the extraction of iodine into carbon tetrachloride in the presence of sodium chloride. If you take a mixture of iodine and sodium chloride, you can extract iodine into carbon tetrachloride. So here, in order to perform the extraction of iodine, we have to dissolve the sample in dilute solution of potassium iodide because iodine is going to be insoluble in water. So you will use iodide. You will use iodide for dissolution of iodine. So iodine I2 plus I minus gives rise to I3 minus. That triiodide ion will be easily soluble in water. When you extract that into carbon tetrachloride or chloroform, iodine will be extracted into carbon tetrachloride or chloroform. So iodide is used for the dissolution of iodine. What is the influence of this iodide? What is the influence of this iodide? Because iodide is used for the dissolution of iodine. Does it contribute to D? This is the question. So we have to understand if we have added more amount of iodide without calculating the required quantity for dissolution of iodine, does it contribute to variation of D or not? So let us discuss that. Let us understand. So when you add potassium iodide to iodine, you will get triiodide ion pair, triiodide complex. This is easily soluble in water rather than iodine. And the concentration of this will be exactly equal to concentration of this. This is a complexation reaction. We will call this I3 minus as a triiodide ion pair complex. So this is a complexation reaction. According to equilibrium constant expression or law of mass action, the formation constant Kf, the equilibrium constant for this complexation reaction is Kf, which is simply the ratio of the concentration of the product to concentration of the reactants. Here I3 is present in the aqueous layer, so concentration of I3 minus divided by I2 is present in the aqueous layer, its concentration has been considered, and similarly concentration of I minus. So formation constant Kf is equal to concentration of the triiodide ion pair which is present in the aqueous layer divided by the concentration of iodine in the aqueous layer and concentration of iodide in the aqueous layer. All right. We know if iodine is extracted into the organic layer, iodine will be transferred to organic layer selectively, and some amount of iodine may be left over in the aqueous layer. So if you use Nernst partition law, Nernst distribution theory, partition coefficient Kd will be concentration of iodine in the organic layer divided by concentration of iodine in the aqueous layer. Or distribution ratio for iodine will be equal to concentration of iodine in the organic layer divided by concentration of iodine in the aqueous layer plus concentration of triiodide in the aqueous layer. So distribution ratio reflects the total concentration of the analyte in the aqueous and organic layers. So whatever the amount of iodine extracted into the organic layer, that will be I2. I3 minus is insoluble in organic solvent, but I2 is soluble. So I2 is transferred into organic solvent. Some amount of iodine is left over in the aqueous layer in the free form, it may be, or some amount of iodine might have been converted into I3 minus. So total concentration of iodine is I2 free form plus I3 minus form. Okay. So use this equation, Kf value. In this particular equation, you will get D is equal to Kd divided by 1 plus Kf into concentration of iodide. So for I3 minus, here I3 minus is present. I3 minus, from this equation you will get Kf into iodine concentration in the aqueous layer into iodide concentration in the aqueous layer. So you will get D is equal to I2 concentration in the organic layer divided by I2 concentration in the aqueous layer plus Kf into I2 concentration in the aqueous layer into iodide concentration in the aqueous layer. You will get this expression. If you take I2 concentration in the aqueous layer as a common factor, I2 concentration in the aqueous layer into 1 plus Kf into iodide concentration you will get. So you have now D is equal to I2 concentration in the organic layer divided by I2 concentration in the aqueous layer into 1 plus Kf into I minus concentration. I2 concentration in the organic layer divided by I2 concentration in the aqueous layer, you will get Kd. From this, you will get Kd. So D is equal to Kd divided by 1 plus Kf into iodide concentration. So this equation is very interesting. So according to this particular equation, you can see if the concentration of iodide is more, what will happen to D? If the concentration of iodide is less, what happened to D? So that has been described here. If the concentration of iodide is low, iodine is extracted with the greatest efficiency. If the concentration of iodide is low, this will become negligible. You assume this will become negligible. So this term will become negligible. So D will be equal to Kd. So the extraction efficiency for iodine will be more if the concentration of iodide is low. If the concentration of iodide is high, means abruptly you have added iodide to dissolve iodine while preparing iodine solution. If you have added iodide in greatest amount, so that will influence. If the concentration of iodide is more, this term will become more and the D value will become minimum. So the extraction efficiency will also become minimum. So at very low concentration of iodide, iodine is extracted with best efficiency. At very high iodide concentrations, D value will be very, very minimum and the extraction efficiency for extraction of iodine will be very low. So that's what demonstrated in this particular graph. As the concentration of iodide is increased, which is taken in the x-axis, the value of D tend to decrease. So here the range of iodide concentration have been presented, at which the value of D approached almost in the equal level. So from -4, -3, -5, -5, -4, -3, if you assume the logarithmic value of iodide ion concentration, the value of log D to the base 10 were almost constant. So this is the range you can consider for using iodide concentration in preparing iodine solution. So not only this, any complexing agent, if you are using in order to prepare a complex, if the complexing agent is left over in excess, that is going to affect D. So if you know the stoichiometry for the formation of the complex, that much amount of the complexing agent you have to add. If anything more than that you have added in order to form the complex, definitely that excess of complexing agent is going to influence the value of D. And ultimately, the extraction efficiency for that particular complex will be suppressed. So you have to be very careful about using of the amount of the complexing agent. You cannot use the complexing agent according to your own wish. If you know the stoichiometry for formation of the complex between the metal and the ligand, or between any two species, there is a chances of formation of the complex. What is the complexing agent you have to use? You should calculate first. So that can be done by using the stoichiometric principles. So if you are not aware about the stoichiometric principle, without understanding the amount of the complexing agent required to be added, you cannot achieve better extraction efficiency. So extraction efficiency will be suffering if you have added more complexing agent. The surplus complexing agent which is left over in the aqueous layer will definitely influence as present in this particular curve, in this particular graph. So this is the second factor. The concentration of the complexing agent definitely influences the value of D. So complexation process is also a response factor in order to affect the extraction efficiency by affecting the value of D. This is the second factor. And another important factor is association, effect of association. Okay. If association occurs in the organic phase, the value of D is going to be very, very high. What is association? Very simple. Association, you take a simple molecule and two molecules are going to associate together. That is known as a dimer. Dimer. Say, for example, any carboxylic acid, if you consider, once it is extracted into the organic solvent, two molecules of the carboxylic acid combine together to form a dimer. And this dimerization process will be very high in non-oxygenated solvents rather than oxygenated solvents. Non-oxygenated solvents means always better to prefer non-polar solvents such as benzene, carbon tetrachloride, chloroform, xylene, etc. So non-polar solvents, dichloromethane or methylene dichloride, dichloroethane, these solvents are having low polarity. So in oxygenated solvents, polarity will be more and dimerization chances will be less if you take oxygenated solvents. Oxygenated solvents are ether, acetates, ketones, alcohols, etc. So if you take oxygenated solvents, their polarity will be high. So dimerization will be less. Extent of dimerization cannot be expected to a maximum extent. But if you consider low polar solvents such as benzene, carbon tetrachloride, ethylene dichloride, or methylene dichloride, etc., the dimerization process will become rapid and abrupt. Therefore, if the extent of dimerization is more, then the value of D will be more. As a result, the extraction efficiency will also become high. This is the thing we have to understand. So, simply consider, in order to understand this in a best way, let me consider once the carboxylic acid is extracted into the organic solvent. Assume two molecules of the organic solvent dimered, associated together to form a dimer, that is denoted by RCOOH twice. The equilibrium constant for this is a dimerization constant according to law of mass action. The equilibrium constant is a dimerization constant. So the dimerization constant will be simply the ratio of the concentration of the dimer in the organic phase divided by concentration of the carboxylic acid to the power 2 in the organic phase, because this process will be taking place only in the organic phase, not in the aqueous phase. Dimerization after the extraction takes place for carboxylic acid. So this process happening in the organic phase only, not in the aqueous phase. So dimerization constant expression tells us about the ratio of the concentration of the dimer to the concentration of the acid, carboxylic acid, or the substrate, or the species, or the analyte. All right. Let us come to the value of D, distribution ratio. Distribution ratio reflects the total concentration of the analyte. Here, carboxylic acid has been extracted into organic solvent. So in the organic solvent, carboxylic acid is present, maybe in its free form or in the dimer form. Free form is RCOOH and the dimer form is RCOOH twice. So D value is the total concentration of the analyte in the organic phase to total concentration of analyte in the aqueous phase. Provided you have maintained suitable experimental conditions such as pH, carboxylic acid not been undergone any dissociation, so its original state has been maintained. So D value will be ratio of concentration of the carboxylic acid plus concentration of the dimer in the organic phase divided by concentration of undissociated carboxylic acid in the aqueous phase. Whole carboxylic acid which is present in the aqueous layer is in undissociated state, no problem. So D is reflecting on the total concentration of the carboxylic acid or total concentration of the analyte, irrespective of their states in both the phases, that is in organic and aqueous phase. Okay, so use that dimerization constant expression. So, and obtain for the value of RCOH twice concentration in the organic phase. From this, RCOH concentration twice in the organic phase is equal to K dimer into concentration of the carboxylic acid to the power 2 in the organic phase. So that has been written here. So therefore, D is equal to concentration of the carboxylic acid in the organic phase remains same. plus K dimer into concentration of carboxylic acid to the power 2 in the organic phase. So I have substituted this in this particular equation. In the expression of D, the dimerization constant expression has been simplified and the value of RCOH twice the concentration of dimer has been substituted in this equation. So D is equal to concentration of the free carboxylic acid in the organic phase plus K dimer into concentration of free carboxylic acid to the power 2 in the organic phase divided by concentration of the acid in the aqueous phase. The next step, D is equal to, you take this as a common factor, RCOH concentration in the organic phase into 1 plus K dimer into concentration of RCOH in the organic phase divided by concentration of RCOOH in the aqueous phase. You know the ratio of these two, RCOH concentration in the organic phase divided by RCOH concentration in the aqueous phase, that is KD into 1 plus K dimer into concentration of RCOH in the organic phase, right? Okay, if you see this particular equation, K dimer is the deciding factor. If the value of K dimer is large, means the ability of the carboxylic acid to undergo dimerization is more. The ability of the carboxylic acid to undergo dimerization is more. Dimerization will become spontaneous. Then dimerization constant will become more. As a result of the larger dimerization constant, that is K dimer, the value of D will be greater than KD. The value of D will be greater than KD. So as the K dimer is increased, D value will also increase. Therefore, the extraction efficiency will be very high. When the value of K dimer will become large, this carboxylic acid should be present in the undissociated state in the aqueous layer. So experimental conditions are very, very important. You cannot perform the extraction as easy as possible. You must aware about the nature of the species you are going to extract and what are the experimental conditions you have to maintain during the extraction process. So therefore, if the carboxylic acid or the substrate what you have taken which is present in the sample and you are going to extract it into the organic phase, you have to understand the experimental conditions to be maintained. Suppose for carboxylic acids, low pH needed to be maintained, higher concentration of acid needed to be maintained. Then only carboxylic acid will be present in the undissociated state. So then after its extraction will be very high. Extraction efficiency will be very high because the electrostatic attraction between the solute and the water will be decreased. Therefore, the aqueous solubility will be decreased and the hydrophobic property will be increased if you maintain low pH for the aqueous phase. So as a result of all these things, the dimerization chances will be very high. Therefore, K dimer will become very high and D value will be very, very higher than KD. Therefore, extraction efficiency will be very high and it may approach even very close to 100. So extraction efficiency is having direct relationship with the K dimer or the ability of the acid to undergo dimerization. It is very important. So as I told in the previous slide, dimerization process will be very slight in the oxygenated solvents because the polarity. So what are the ultimate choice of solvents? Non-polar solvents you have to use, maybe benzene or carbon tetrachloride or chloroform or toluene, xylene, ethylene dichloride or dichloroethane, methylene dichloride or dichloromethane, etc. So if you use low polar solvents, the aqueous solubility of the carboxylic acid will be reduced and its hydrophobicity will be increased. Therefore, its solubility in the organic solvent, less polar solvent, will be more. So it will be extracted into the greatest efficiency. And that is all due to the parameter dimerization process. So this is the factor effect of association. Here carboxylic acid is going to associate to form a dimer, and therefore the extraction efficiency of this carboxylic acid is having direct influence from the dimerization constant. So these are the three important factors. First one is the pH, and the second one is complexation process, and the third one is effect of association. So essentially covalent neutral molecules can be extracted with better efficiency, provided the pH of the aqueous solution is monitored appropriately, and there is no any surplus complexing agent left over in the aqueous layer, and we are not going to use more polar solvent for the extraction of solute in order to avoid, in order to increase the chances of association. So in order to sum up, in this module, in this session, we have discussed about the classification of the extraction systems into essentially choline neutral molecules, uncharged metal chelates, and ion association complexes. And we have discussed about extraction of essentially choline neutral molecules by taking the example of iodine and benzoic acid as examples, and what are the extraction factors which will vary the value of D and thus the value of E. We have discussed there are three important factors: pH of the aqueous layer. So acids can be extracted to the better efficiency provided the pH is very low, that means very high concentration, and bases are extracted at very high pH, means very high concentration of hydroxide ions. And even complexing agents will also influence the value of D and hence the value of E. The surplus complexing agent should not be present in the aqueous layer. If it is present, the value of D will become minimum. Therefore, extraction efficiency will be suppressed. And the third factor is the effect of association is also going to influence the extraction efficiency, because the extent of association is having direct link or direct contact in order to increase the extraction efficiency for any solute. So thank you for your patience. We'll meet you in the next module.